Some of you have been to the last flock in Charleston, flock 2013. I gave a talk there which was called Why Fedora Sucks. It was the talk to receive the second most votes. And after the great success of this talk, I proudly present Okay, I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm very excited about Fedora.next. There has been some confusion, and why I think it's very important to to get things straight, and especially this is important for ambassadors or whoever has some form of outreach. So this is why my talk is called Advocating Fedora.next. I'm Christoph Wickert. I'm member of FAMSCO. I'm also a member of the Fedora board, and I'm also a member of the Workstation working group. Unfortunately, I'm very busy in my day job at Collab Systems, so I hardly find the time to contribute at the moment, but that should be better soon. Just a quick overview of what we are going to discuss today. Why Fedora.next? What is it? And what's the current status? Any of you have not yet heard of the term Fedora.next? Okay, it seems you all know it, but I wonder, do you actually know why we did it? A lot of people wonder why we did it, and there's some. Is he here? Yes, he is here. I'm looking at you. I remember at DevConf, Kevin asked, why couldn't we just let everything as it used to be? Why did we need to change something? I mean, this model has been running well for 10 years. That's basically what you meant, right? Yeah. Okay, and my answer to this is, why not? Generally, I think Fedora is and has always been changing. I'm not sure how many people actually remember Pub, P-root. These were two very early updates. Pub was the package updater and P-root was the package installation thing. I also recall a time where I used apt to manage my packages. I think there even was a third.
Smart PM.
Was it actually?
There was one. That was maybe the fourth.
Well, I think there was actually one that was officially used by Fedora. This update thingy that still dates back to the Red Hat times.
Oh, up to date.
Yeah, thank you. Of course, so obvious. Yeah, and of course now we have Yum, and soon we will have DNF. So we are changing things to make things better. We are not changing them just for the sake of changing. Or do you still recall the first 2.6 kernel? In Fedora 7 we had the merge of Fedora Core and Extras. In Fedora 15 we had GNOME 3, systemd and other exciting features. And last but not least we had the Anaconda rewrite. So Fedora is about change. If you want something stable, if you want something that is not moving, you better use RHEL, CentOS, or if you want absolutely no change, and if you want to discuss changes forever, use Debian. And there are a lot of misconceptions, as I said earlier, about Fedora.next. One is, especially, I heard that from outsiders who are not involved in the Fedora community, Fedora, it's broken, nobody uses it anymore, in particular after GNOME 3, all the users ran away screaming. It's true that there has been, the number of downloads has been going down, or overall the trend has been going down for all the major distributions, but I will get to that later. For me, the truth is that we have a strong brand, it's a positive brand. We have a big community of users and developers with very good contacts to all the relevant upstream communities. I don't think there's any other distribution that is so closely linked to upstream development as Fedora, and that's something that is really unique. Overall, the 10 years, in my opinion, are a success story. But nevertheless, that shouldn't prevent us from doing changes. Fedora 20 overall, I think the tests, the reviews were very positive. Some people don't like the artwork, but other than that, I don't remember any real rant or something. There certainly were some, but the overall feedback was very positive. Another rumor I've heard that comes more from the internal, not from the outsider's perspective, but from the internal community perspective, or people who say they are the voice of the community. I'm not mentioning any names now. It's all about the money. The new products, I will get to that later, will only benefit Red Hat. As you all know, as you probably all know, Fedora 21 will be delivered in 3 products. That is the Fedora server, the Fedora Workstation, and the Fedora Cloud image. And this is also the same model that Red Hat could use. But on the other hand, do you really think Red Hat is interested in, say, a desktop product? Other distributions already tried making money with the Linux desktop. After years, this company is still not profitable, so I don't think that Red Hat has any interest in a workstation product, for example. The distinction for me is just, yeah, it just makes sense. It's just common sense. If you look back, for example, at the cloud image, Matthew can probably say more about this. The cloud people always had problems getting their technology delivered in a form they wanted to deliver it because they couldn't do it in the traditional model. So splitting this up into 3 different yeah, products, as we call it, does make sense. Some others, also internal criticism is it's all about control. The working groups who now do most of the governance are controlled by Red Hat. I don't think so. The initial seed of the working groups was done by self-nomination, and people were later appointed by, I think it was FESCO. Yeah. Yeah. That means there was a seamless transition, or I mean the new governance, the new working groups are just additional. The old governance model is still in place. Nothing got replaced with the working groups. Maybe something will get replaced later. We will have a talk on Fedora.next governance tomorrow at 4 p.m. I think. Let's see what comes out of this. But the truth is, nothing got replaced, and everybody had the chance to become part of one of these working groups.
The governance talk is Saturday.
Oh, sorry. For the record, the governance talk is on Saturday. Okay, nothing. So everybody could self-nominate. Nobody was. People were appointed by the old traditional model. So this accusation obviously is not true. Also, there's a lot of community members in the working groups. I myself am one of them. So, if we didn't do it for the reasons I just outlined, why did we do it? The major reasons, I tried to summarize them here. First of all, distributions have become boring. I don't know how many of you are ambassadors. Okay, when you go out to Linux events, what is the general interest in distributions? Okay, yeah, that's exactly how I feel about, say, Linux stuff. If you go to a Linux event, everybody is already using his or her favorite Linux distribution. You can hardly convert somebody from one distribution to the other. Distributions nowadays, they use most mostly the same technology, of course different versions of the technology, some different tools, but the overall tool set is the same. It's working pretty well these days. It's no longer that you configure everything manually, so it's just boring. The user doesn't really see what's under the hood. It's the applications that matter, that make stuff exciting, and these really make a difference. And that's exactly what we want to achieve with Fedora.next. We want to give the different working groups or the different products more freedom for making changes and yeah, really making a difference. We see that all major distributions have lost market share. You can see that on DistroWatch, rest in peace.
They're back.
Pardon?
They're back again.
Oh, they're back. Yeah. Okay. To be honest, I never trusted the numbers of DistroWatch because it just is. I think it's page hits of the different distribution pages. So if 10 people read the distribution description of Fedora and they all decide that Fedora sucks, that doesn't mean anything. But the trend we see there, and the trend we also see, for example, on Google Trends, is that if you search for terms like Fedora, Ubuntu, OpenSUSE, Debian, they have all been going down, and on the other hand, you have these cookie baker distributions like Linux Mint, these spin-offs trending up. Frankly speaking, I'm not quite sure why this is the case. Maybe people just want to move somewhere else. Then we have other distributions like Arch Linux, which is like the new Gentoo for me, but let's see how it works out for them in the future. But the general direction is that all the great distributions have lost market share. And then we have something that is new, that is something like GitHub. Let's call it collaborative development. There are millions of repositories out there. I mean, millions of repositories doesn't necessarily mean it's millions of lines of software or something. Some people just store stuff, their personal stuff there, but nevertheless, these platforms give you a means of collaborating together. You can submit bug reports, you can have pull requests where people just can apply your changes with a single click. You can fork everything. So this is something that wasn't there when Fedora was founded 10 years ago. Then we have the cloud. The cloud also wasn't there. And last but not least, first it was virtualization, now we have containers. If you just can run everything in your cloud, you just have one virtual machine or you just have a container, again, the base operating system becomes less relevant, I think. So why should people care about it? Of course, we just, yeah. And on the other hand, we have Fedora's mission statement. The Fedora project's mission is to lead the advancement of free and open source software and content as a collaborative community. And also the Fedora project strives to lead, not to follow. We seriously have to ask ourselves if we did that in the recent times, or if we, I don't think we are not doing bad. I mean, we have still plenty of new features in every release, but if we want to fulfill our mission, did this slide just go on? Or?
Yes, there we go.
Thank you. If we want to fulfill our mission, and if we want to lead, we probably need a more agile structure. So this is where Fedora.next comes in, and we should just, yeah, I will just quickly explain what it is. First of all, it's just a term. It's the umbrella for all the changes in the way how we do Fedora. It's not. It will not be done by Fedora 21. It will not be done by Fedora 22, and probably, who knows, it will probably not be done by Fedora 25. The old model served us well for 10 years, so we are looking at a new model that will serve us for the next decade, and that means that we will continue to have changes. We'll see changes in almost every area, every aspect of Fedora. Say in the governance structure, in the package maintenance structure, everything. And at the moment, it's just a term. We have only made a very small step, but this step is already very exciting, I think. And yeah, let's see what is to come. It all dates back to last FLOC, sorry, where we had two different proposals. One was the Fedora.next proposal, an architecture for a more agile Fedora by Matthew. And the other was the proposal, I called it the Streams proposal, the Fedora Crystal Ball, where are we going for the next 5 years by Steven. And Fedora.next, as we know it now, is basically a combination of these two models. Matthew suggested, well, first of all, as you can see, the term Fedora.next has been introduced by Matthew.
I think I picked it up from someone else even, but I don't know who to give the right credit to.
Oh, so, credit for... Yeah, let's see. Somebody deserves the credit. We don't know who it is. Matthew originally suggested a system of rings with ring 0, ring 1, and so on, where ring 0 was just the bare minimum you need to run the Linux system. Ring 1 was the base OS, basically, the standard install. Ring 2 were the environments and stacks.
Yeah.
The general idea was the further you get to the outside, the further you get away from the core, the less restrictive the guidelines should be. People should be able to install different things from Ring 3, for example, a different version of KDE on a different core. Then we had the Streams proposal from Steven. Steven suggested to have 3 different product streams. And the product streams are basically what we now know as products. So the server, the workstation, and the cloud. Steven also suggested to have different release cycles. This is something we are not yet sure about, because there were some concerns from release engineering and QA if we have the manpower to do this. For example, the server should be not as quickly moving as the desktop. Let's see where this ends up. I don't think this idea is completely off the table, but at the moment we are not going to do it. What we will see in Fedora 21 is basically the 3 different products: the workstation, the cloud, and the server. That also means no more installation DVD. This is something I recently learned, basically the hard way. Somebody asked me, how would I install Mate or some other desktop in Fedora 21, and I told him, yeah, use the installation DVD, until I figured out, or Josh told me, no, there won't be any installation DVD. This is something I mentioned here explicitly because the ambassadors have been giving out installation DVDs, and we need to think what else we can hand out. We have the multi-desktop DVD, where we have the different desktops all on one dual-layer DVD. Maybe we should focus on this.
In North America, that's all we've been giving out.
Yeah, actually...
the same meaning, yeah. We haven't been giving out installation DVDs for like 2 years. So
Yeah.
No, not 2 years, but 2 releases probably. Okay, then this is not a problem. If you have something, if you want to install, say, a certain desktop, you probably should use a spin. If there is no spin, you can still use the net install. When I first heard that the Fedora DVD was going away, I was a little sad or concerned. But on the other hand, let's face it, it was never really well maintained. It was just a random collection of packages. It more or less dates back to the old Red Hat 9 package set, where you had like 3 or 4 CDs, I don't know. So nobody really knows what criteria were used to bundle these packages. For example, I would have liked, or did we actually have XFCE on the installation DVD? I'm not sure, but I wanted XFCE there. I think we added it, but then the question comes up, why not add LXCE? So at this point, you see the old installation DVD was pretty much random, and you really shouldn't be sorry for it going away. Okay, back to the 3 different products. What is a product? It's more than a spin. At the moment, we have spins, which are all based on the same package set. It's basically just a different kickstart file, maybe a bit different systemd presets, but the package, it's just a package set that is different. While a product has a target audience of its own, every product has also a mission statement, it has a product requirement document, and a technical specification. That's basically what we did when we started the process. It all started with the working groups, which were appointed by FESCO. We then worked on, we defined our own target audience. We worked on a product requirement document, which basically outlines what this product should be able to do and what not. What use cases do we want to cover. And then we moved on. Basically, the mission statement was just the logical consequence of this, and then we produced the technical specification. That also means that we have unique features that are not present in Fedora today, and that are specific to this product. You will be able to, in the end, it's probably all packaged, and you will be able to install this or that feature if you start with the net installer, or if you start with a different Fedora product. But it's something that it's a development effort that is in the product. On the other hand, a spin doesn't have any development effort. It's just creating a kickstart file. And products are managed by working groups, and they have their own governance model. This is something which I think is very positive. When people claim it's about control and Red Hat wants to gain or regain control over Fedora again, I think the opposite is true. We are giving more freedom to the individual working groups. They can define their own criteria or their own decision-making process and whatnot. Okay, I'm a member of the Workstation working group, that's why I quickly mention it here. The Fedora Workstation working group aims to create a reliable, user-friendly and powerful operating system for laptops and PC hardware. The system will primarily be aimed at providing a platform for development of server-side and client applications that is attractive to a range of developers, from hobbyists and students to developers working in corporate environments. Okay, Matthias, anything from your side about the exciting features you would, or exciting features that are unique to the Workstation that you would like to mention? Anything about the technical specification?
It's a good question. I think the Workstation is going to be the most evolutionary as opposed to revolutionary product, simply because we've always very desktop focused and we always have really as the default. So it's much more interesting to ask what the server will be or what the cloud will be. Obviously there's stuff we've been working on for a while, like the Wayland port, which has been around for a bit, so it's not necessarily something that's directly tied to being in the Workstation.
Yeah, but
that's something that will be there.
Yeah, but for example, we are also thinking of the updates model and rolling out updates as S3 images basically or so. There's plenty of stuff that you won't see anywhere else, and that's actually unique. So this is what makes a product really a product and not just a spin. Basically, the Workstation, as Matthias just said, it's more evolutionary than revolutionary. I think what we will see in Fedora 21 is not so different from the Fedora desktop as we know it, from the Fedora Live CD at the moment. but nevertheless, it's going to be something of its own. Then we have the server. The Fedora server is a common base platform with featured application stacks built on top of it. We commit to produce, test, and to distribute these application stacks. The Fedora server, for example, comes with an exciting new feature that is called the cockpit, or basically they have a role-based model. A role can be a mail server, or a role can be a DNS server, whatever. And of course we do have something similar at the moment. You can just install, you have young groups and you can install the young group package web server or the young group database server or whatever, but the role-based model is actually more than this. You have a common administration interface. It takes care of creating the necessary users and settings. So basically you have this management interface and you're ready to go. And when you can just add a new role from the interface as you like. Any server people here? Anything you would like to add?
Well, so the cockpit's UI, since in a lot of cases you don't have, like, as with this laptop, right? I have a screen attached to it, and this is not always the case with a server. So the cockpit UI, it's a web UI that you can then access remotely from another machine.
And you can, yeah, right. And it will also be able to manage several instances of the Fedora server in the future.
Yes, certainly. Yeah.
This is something that is also a development effort that is going on as part of the server product. Of course, I trust you to probably host and upstream all your code, so it will be usable in other products as well. It will probably be usable in other distributions as well.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Right now we have a very hard dependency on systemd, which is okay these days again, since Debian went for that too. But apart from that, I don't think we have a lot of super Fedora specific dependencies. So certainly you should be able to run it on another distro as well.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We have the Fedora Cloud. I wasn't really able to find a mission statement of the Fedora Cloud, so I copied this from the website, from the wiki page. The working group, it's just a description of the working group, not of the cloud product itself. The working group is responsible for initial and ongoing development of the product requirements document and for coordinating production of the Fedora Cloud operating system. We work with existing groups across the greater Fedora project and may delegate particular members to take responsibility for working with certain other teams. For example, a working group member may act as a coordinator for quality assurance and release engineering.
That's a lot of words.
Yes, compared to the others, but I mean, actually, if you want more words, I could have just copied the product requirement documents and the technical specifications. You will find all of this in the wiki. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to have it on the slides. And also, the number of features I found in every technical specification are way too big to name them one by one. For example, the update process, or like robust upgrades for the Workstation image and so on. So there's too much stuff to put it on the slides here. Matthew, anything to add for the cloud from your perspective?
Yeah, I feel strongly that we have a more concise working mission statement somewhere, but not the best wiki.
Yeah, you
have it on the second page.
Yeah, okay. So basically we're making images that run in cloud environments, which are basically, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's running remotely or far away, but the idea is images to run in a cattle sort of model as opposed to a pets model. This is a really common analogy in cloud computing where, I don't know, has everybody heard that before? I'll say it again.
Yeah, it's the pet versus cattle.
Yeah.
If your pet is sick, you go to the pet doctor and make sure it's getting okay again, while if your cattle is sick, you just shoot it and buy a new one. That's,
And your pet has a name, and you've only got a few of them. Your cows are numbered, and you've maybe got 1,000. So the idea is the cloud stuff scales out rather than building up into big, powerful machines that develop their own quirks and so on.
Yeah.
So we're basically building the base images that you would use to make those scale out applications. And we're eventually going to go further up that stack, but for Fedora 21, we're basically doing two things. And one is the Fedora cloud base image, which basically looks like a minimal Fedora install, and thanks to the work of a lot of people, is a lot more minimal than it used to be in this release. We've got sorry, I keep talking for a long time. And then also Fedora Atomic, which is going to be based on OS tree and be a lot of we're really trying some innovative things with how the distribution is put together. So it does not have yum install anymore. It is an image that comes from a server, and you can switch versions of it, but the version on your system matches the server, and you install all your applications as Docker images.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Matthew. So the cloud working group is also a good example of why spins are not enough. The old spins guideline, or well, they're still the current spins guideline, say you have to have these minimal set of packages, for example, Anaconda. But in a world where you just distribute images, you actually don't need the full-blown installer. So the cloud image probably does not meet the requirements or the definition of a spin. And that's why we now have products with more freedom or more space for diversity. Okay, and then we have two more working groups. The base design working group, this is the working group that has been working on slimming down the Fedora core. This would correspond to what Matthew had as ring 0 in his initial proposal, the bare minimum that you actually need. I don't know, is yum in the, it's not...
Yes, I think that they've actually taken ring 0 and ring 1.
Oh, actually, this is actually in my next slide. And then we have environment and stacks. Okay, base design, they do have a mission statement on their wiki page. The goal of the Fedora base is to provide a standard platform with common technologies, frameworks, and APIs for all Fedora products. This means it's going to be shared among really all products. It's as small as possible. It still uses Anaconda. Okay, that also implies that it uses yum, at least at this time. And it's aiming to provide API and API stability throughout a release. We are actually thinking about having different bases at some point. And if they are really API and API stable, you can just swap one with the other. But that's all future. Let's see where this goes. Environment and Stacks also has a mission statement. The Fedora Environment and Stacks working group will research and develop new or improved methods of developing, testing, packaging, and deploying software for the Fedora community. At this point in time, software mostly means PHP, Python, Perl, like all these interpreter languages.
It's the stacks part, language stacks, basically.
Right, and the funny thing is, you should be able to install and run different versions of a stack side by side. Currently this is achieved through software collections. Personally, I'm not really a fan of the current software collections as they are, but I totally see the use case, and I think, well, I like software collections, but I don't like the way they are built at the moment. I want one spec to rule them all. Let's see if we achieve this. But this is something that really makes the developers' lives easier. Because developers often need to install different versions of a software side by side, say, to test their programs on different versions of Ruby or whatnot. I mean, Ruby is one that is particularly picky about the versions. Yeah, and making this, installing a stack easier is something that makes Fedora way more attractive. Currently, all the developers I know, or many of the developers I know, especially web developers, all tend to use Mac OS. And this is something that this is a target audience that we definitely want to address, both with the easier installation of environment and stacks, as well as with our Workstation product. All right, so for me the important thing is there has been so much FUD, and I want all of you to spread a positive message. First of all, spread the word. Tell people that with Fedora 21 things are going to change. It's not just we continue to do what we have done for the last 10 years forever, but we are really working hard on changing things. We will continue to change probably for the next few releases until we settle to a new model that will then serve us another decade. And then we have Fedora.next .2, whatever. But nevertheless, spread the word. And when you do so, please make sure to use the term Fedora.next. I mean, when you write it down, or Fedora.next, but please don't just say the next Fedora. It's not just the next Fedora as it was like Fedora 17 and 18. It's something different. And for me, the message is very positive. We strive to serve new target audiences, we cover more use cases, but on the other hand, our core values like freedom, friendship, features first, or like meritocracy, that doesn't change. Actually, the new working groups are a very good example of meritocracy. People were appointed because they did some work in their area of expertise in the past. So it's still Fedora, it's a new Fedora, and yeah, I'm very excited about it because there are more changes to come. As I said, governance is one big thing that we need to address. I think the new working groups with their own governance models are just the starting point. We can rework the overall Fedora governance. Again, we will not change everything. We will make sure the changes are done in the same manner. We don't want to offend anybody in the Fedora community, even though I am sure some people will be offended. Some people will want to continue with the old model. For example, the Fedora board is currently investigating the question whether or not we should have more than one Workstation product, because the KDE special interest group asked if they could have a Plasma product. This is something that is open for discussion. We currently don't know, and of course it won't come for Fedora 21, it's too late. For Fedora 21 we will just see the different products, but this is already a very exciting change, because each of these products will include something that the previous version did not include. It will include something that it would not have had a feature if it was just continuing with the old model. And that's why for me Fedora.next is really the future for Fedora. And this is something I want to all ambassadors or whoever goes out to Linux events to really make people understand. Spread the word, and please make it a positive message. That doesn't mean that there cannot be criticism, or that doesn't mean that we cannot discuss things, but the overall, given how much FUD we have seen in the past, I think we should make sure to have one common baseline. If you have any questions about Fedora.next, we will have plenty of sessions about Fedora.next, about the individual products. There will be one on the server, I think. There will be one on cloud. I'm not sure if we will have something on the workstation.
We had it morning.
Oh, it was already. Too bad I couldn't make it. Yeah, but it's probably recorded.
Yeah,
so, yeah. You will always find the latest and greatest information in the wiki under the URL fedoraproject.org/wiki/fedora.next.
And if there's something you know about Fedora.next that isn't on that wiki page, it's a wiki, please add it.
Yeah, and also there's the Fedora magazine where Matthew writes an update basically every other week or every week, I think. And you find all the wiki articles, also linked. Also the Fedora magazine articles are linked from this wiki page. So this is your starting point for everything you want to know, you need to know about Fedora.next. As an ambassador, you should probably read it, or actually I would say you must read it. There will be talking points later when we prepare for the Fedora 21 release. I'm pretty sure that our awesome docs team will prepare some beats and talking points. Oh no, that's actually the marketing team. Well, the beats are by the docs team, but the talking points are done by the marketing team. Yeah, please read them as well. Again, this is everything you need to know, or you can find everything you need to know under this URL. If you have more questions, now is the time to ask. Kevin first.
So you said that it's not true that this only addresses Red Hat's concerns because Red Hat doesn't care about the Workstation product. But I think the point of this objection is that really the Workstation product is the one concession to the existing user base of Fedora, which is all desktop or laptop users. And the other two products are things that only a handful of users will use outside of Red Hat and Trail. Because, I mean, who really does use Fedora on a server? It's only a very small percentage of people, if at all. And the cloud is the same, I think.
I don't think...
For the server, I'm giving a talk tomorrow and I will address that specific question. Because there's a lot more people than you think.
Yes. Actually, I know data centers running on Fedora, and actually these guys even update with every Fedora version. I mean, we have a support cycle, a life cycle of 13 months, so they could easily skip one version, but they run every Fedora version. As for the cloud, I mean, with the kettle model, you can just kill your virtual machine and throw it away, get a new one, and automatically Fedora, with the kettle model, life cycle no longer is a problem. So you can very well use Fedora in the cloud, and actually it's already used a lot in the cloud. As for the workstation, well, yes, I'm not sure if Fedora was a workstation distribution. I mean, I use it on my laptop, but I don't think the workstation working group or the workstation product is just a concession to the current users. We want to make Fedora attractive for everybody. The reason why we choose the target audience of, say, developers or students is because they are like power users. If they can use the Fedora desktop, your grandma can too. Your grandma doesn't need to install any development tools, but the platform she gets with the workstation product can be used by everybody, even if he just wants to check emails and Facebook.
But there's also a thing that I'm not sure I can agree with. I mean, of course, with the design that the Workstation group has said that they're going to use GNOME, which is designed for beginners. Of course, it will also be usable by beginners, but will it actually be a good distribution for developers that way? I don't know. I mean, at least...
So, like, a lot of people use GNOME, like Linus Torvalds uses GNOME 3. Is he a beginner also? But anyway, that's a different subject.
So, I think one of the things we are interested in doing with that target audience selection is making sure that we do the research and make sure that our audience that we're interested in addressing is addressed by the product, and doing usability studies and making changes as they are needed to do that. And
yeah, for me, I mean, I'm not a GNOME user, but I'm a member of the working group, of the Workstation working group, and I fully support the choice for GNOME as the workstation, as the desktop for the Workstation product, simply because from my perspective, it's the only desktop that we can actually support for a high quality product. We have the necessary manpower, we have the necessary upstream developers, and for me it was a logical choice. But that does not mean that KDE becomes a second-class citizen. Actually, I think the position of KDE, because I know you're interested in KDE, has become better. If KDE comes up, if you as a working group come up with a really plan where you can outline why the Plasma product needs to be a product and not only a spin, if you add additional benefit, like what I outlined with the updates model or something that is really unique to this product and that is more than the current KDE spin, I'm totally for granting you the status of becoming a product too. But at the moment I don't see it. Let's see where it's, I mean, it's targeted for Fedora 22 anyway, so you have plenty of time to come up with ideas and code and whatnot, and then we can make a decision. Maybe we will have more products in the future. I don't think we should limit the number of products artificially, but when we stamp something as a product, we need to make sure it's really high quality, and we need to make sure we have the necessary resources for the marketing. But other than that, I have no objections. I think there was one question from you.
I had a question to Matthew about Fedora Cloud. Will you ship only ready-to-use images or software to build them too?
Right now we are focusing on the ready-to-use images. And the software that we use to build the images is, in this case, it's Image Factory running inside of Anaconda, and Anaconda running inside Image Factory running inside Koji. So it's a whole like Russian doll of software, but it's all open source software that we ship in Fedora. You could build that yourself, but we are currently not really making that easily available to anybody or doing anything like the Project Raindrops thing to make it easy to generate your own custom images. But we'd be interested in doing that, especially maybe with the OS tree kind of based model where having your own tree is an important thing.
I have a question to Christoph and anyone who has been going out to advocate for Fedora.next. It's now 1 year since it started, but I was expecting to get thrown tomatoes because it was a huge change. But from my experience, it has been surprising, but people were very welcoming of this idea of reducing the scope around pre-product. So I wanted to get your feedback. What is your feedback? What people are telling you about Fedora.next? Are they welcoming or hostile about it? I'm just puzzled. It's just a particular experience or it's general?
Okay, for the people on the video, Igel asked about the feedback. If you have been out there on Linux events and already mentioned Fedora.next, did people throw tomatoes at you, or was the feedback positive? Anybody already discussed it with somebody?
It's positive, but it's too rare to talk to just because the tech trend is just maybe here one time or 2 times. So, yeah.
Yeah, so far there has not been much feedback. That's also what my experience. If there's feedback, it's mostly from people who care about Fedora, who follow the planet or something, and yeah, these people are generally positive. It will get more interesting once Fedora 21 is released, because this is when we really go out to the people and tell them, here's your Fedora server and here's your Fedora workstation. The cloud images is something the ambassadors probably will not distribute, but yeah, if we have
we distribute cards saying, here's your HMI ID.
Yeah, right.
We have OpenStack Summit, so we will distribute cloud images.
Okay, yeah, that's actually one thing that's actually the path I would like us further to go. We have these general Linux events, and they, just like the base OS, these Linux events have become more and more boring. I see on Linux Talk, I see Fedora, Debian, Ubuntu, and whatnot all lined up, and they're basically showing all the same.
It's the same at the Vienna event.
Yeah, but the thing is, on the other hand, this year Linux Talk, for example, was co-located with, what was the name? It was an Android conference, an Android developers conference. And for example, if we can show the people there that we have this Fedora workstation, it's awesome for developers, we have this dev assistant, unfortunately by that time, or it still cannot do Android, but if we show the developers there how easy it is to set up an Android development environment, it's actually easier than doing it on Windows or on Mac with the dev assistant. If we can show them this, then I'm pretty sure we can get really new users and also interesting users, because these are also developers. Or same for OpenStack. If you show them how awesome the Fedora Cloud behaves in OpenStack, or can be used to run OpenStack or whatnot, this is actually where we can change something. And I don't think that with the traditional approach we would have been able to make these changes. I mean, that's also what you get at the events. And therefore, yeah, let's go more to the events that target a certain user base. Developers, let's go to PyCon, let's go to a Ruby conference, let's go to yet another Perl conference, and so on, and show them why we are an awesome distribution, or why Fedora.next is an awesome distribution for them.
Can I also comment to the previous commentary about Red Hat and concerns from people? So I spent a lot of time in aggressive community, which always try to mock you for Red Hat involvement and so on. And my advice would be, don't participate. So your argument was nice, but don't use it. You as a Fedora ambassador, try not to explain what Red Hat thinks, what Red Hat wants, and what Red Hat goals are. It's not our. It's not why we are in Fedora. We don't care about Red Hat as much as they propose. So when people ask you about the governance model, and that when they talk to you that Red Hat wants to own Fedora, you don't participate in this discussion. Don't try to figure out that Red Hat wants Workstation, Red Hat doesn't want Workstation. That's not the point. Yeah.
So Alexander just suggested to not participate in hostile discussions where it's about Red Hat wanting this or that with Fedora.next or with Fedora in general. I agree, and for me, all of this that I just explained, what Fedora.next is or why we are doing this has absolutely nothing to do with Red Hat. To me, this is FUD. I'm not sure if you need to comment every FUD argument. You probably do on mailing lists and Facebook and other places on the internet, but you probably don't do this in a face-to-face conversation. Just stay out of there. Again, Fedora.next was something that came from the community, and also the people in the working groups are community members in general.
Can I don't there for one moment though. One of the things I see is actually adding to that problem is the fact that we have this habit of talking about Red Hatters and community members and not treating the Red Hatters as community members. And I'm guilty of this too from time to time. But
I'm also guilty of this. I don't like this general we against the community. No, we against Red Hat, because I'm with my community hat on. I know I used this term in the past. I try to avoid it. Sometimes, I mean, let's face it, sometimes there can really be different interests. Yeah. But this interest is not because somebody is wearing a red hat, but because somebody is working on this or that. It's not because somebody is on the payroll of Red Hat and somebody else is not. So
I can speak from experience that even if you have 3 people working on the same team at Red Hat, they have 4 different opinions on it.
Yes, you have different teams within Red Hat, they don't agree. You have different people within a team, they don't agree. So we are a big community and it's totally normal to have different opinions. So this is a general problem. Actually, I think we are doing pretty well compared to other distributions. Yeah. For example, I think in Ubuntu the gap between employees of Canonical and the community is even bigger. Or in other, in Debian you don't even need a corporate sponsor to have disagreements. So overall, I think we are doing pretty well.
Well, I think that one part of the problem is that Fedora internal working is hidden to the public. They don't know how we work. I think we should put in the spotlight or how we work.
I think the working groups have really actually been helping with that a lot.
Yeah, but we should show
public.
that working groups are not only Red Hat employees.
Yeah.
In fact, the work on products is not limited to working group. For instance, in the cloud product, the SIG is doing most of the work.
I think that there's a big problem there, which is that people who are interested in that stuff, interested enough to go looking for the information, it's all very, very accessible. For the people who are just skimming the surface and making up their mind, they're never going to care to go dig that deep and get the information.
We don't need to go in detail, but for instance, we have a wonderful media, which is Fedora.next, and we should show that. We should spotlight the work of individual contributors.
Yeah.
And I think we should do that. For instance, Andy Green, which happens to be a Red Hat, does not work, but it's not doing that on behalf of Red Hat. It's on the spare time. And we should show that.
All right, I totally agree. I don't want to discuss this further because it's the same old story. If we want to discuss it, we probably should discuss it over a beer tonight. If we have, because this really has nothing to do with Fedora.next. This issue has been around for years and will be around for another year probably. So if you have any more questions, in particular about what ambassadors need to do for advocating Fedora.next, you can always contact me either here or by email. Other than that, yeah, let's discuss things further over a beer tonight, and thanks everybody for coming to my talk.